Hello, gorgeous! Today I'd like to share with you my review and experience of the Korean series Summer Strike. And this is going to be a bit more of a detailed review and that talks about um, each episode. And of course, I have my conclusion in the end. So if you'd like a quicker review, you might want to jump into the conclusion at the end. And so, I'm going to read my notes because I did take notes each episode. So, first of all, how did I come across the Korean series Summer Strike? It is actually when I actually first watched Run On, and it was because of the main actor there that I looked up other series that he's on. But it's so funny because when I first watched Run On, he was boring. And it just happened to be that at some point, suddenly his eyes were shining. And then from then on, I don't know, he just completely changed my thoughts on him. and so and let's go into the details of the episode. First episode, I thought it was a good pace, not too slow, because sometimes you know how you may judge a series from the first episode and you may not want to watch it if it's too slow, and I thought this was just fine. And so the female main character's general look is plain, that's what I thought. Nothing too distracting or intimidating. I guess it makes it more easily relatable like a regular person. And I can understand the feeling of the female main character, unconsciously not valuing herself. She is just she doesn't see her value in this first episode. Now, I thought that the guy, the ex-boyfriend that he was with, was actually honest, and I can see why she chose to experience this so that she can see things this way, you know? And it shows the so-called reality of life where one unexpected thing happens and then life continues anyway. And sometimes these are the times when you become more aware that you are doing the same thing over and over like a robot. And so the contrast keep on the contrast on what is it? The contrast keep on shows in her workplace. Oh, the contrast shows in her workplace as well, and that is to really wake her up. And so the endearing innocence of the male main character is shown like a sneak preview on this first episode, and not yet sure what his story is about. And it's pretty cool to see her get lost. The part where she finds it amazing that the other way, the opposite way where people goes is the relaxing way. You know, when the opposite of when she was in the train, that she found that it was the relaxing way. Like she can suddenly breathe and not feel constricted. I felt her relief, and I felt her relief like a blocked nose that suddenly was able to breathe. That's how it felt. It shows how much power one has when she decided to not hold herself off from speaking her buried thoughts. Well, that was when she was having a conversation with her superior. And so when she did that, she got a different result. The train scene where her earphones got caught reminds me of how synchronicity unfolds so cutely. We may get so annoyed by the inconveniences, yet we know we somehow orchestrated it in the soul level. And the cherry blossoms reminded me of how silent, powerful, and impactful nature is. It's just there, yet when it speaks to you, it's so grand. You get stopped in awe of its beauty. No words can explain. And I love seeing her just going for the water. The sea of emotions. She connected with it and floated away in stillness. I call this episode The Awakening and the beginning of liberation. I got the feeling of uncertainty, of what's ahead, yet freedom. Next episode, second episode. This is a little cute and funny episode that made me laugh here and there, showing again synchronicities. She tried her best looking for a place to call home but couldn't find any that suits her budget. And at the part where it showed that she did try and she said that that's a shame. That shows her willingness to give this place a try. A window of opportunity opened as the real estate guy's wife suggested an unconventional place to rent. It's funny how the male actor's hair and getup is so uncool, but he still looks cute anyway. I wonder if I would feel the same way if I didn't meet him in the other series run on first, if that's what I would still think. The female actress looks more pretty in this episode, even though she's wearing nothing fancy. And it showed the usual unusualness of what a small rural town can be like, where it's a small world, like everyone knows everyone. And it showed how she somehow established rapport when she appreciated the building owner's son's honesty. The little things we do reminds me of what that allows. It was so funny when she did the shark hands like this when she was walking drunk on the street. I was wondering why he wasn't talking at first, the main male character, like he was mute. Then she confirmed it by her statement when she says that he is mute, and as he was writing on the paper. I was a little sad since I love hearing a good masculine voice, but I immediately accepted it anyway. Then, closer to the end of the episode, I thought I was imagining the male character talk, and funny when the female character confirmed that she heard him actually talk. I was delighted with a big smile. I call this episode Exploring the Unknown and Going for It Anyway. Okay, episode 3. Now, this episode is a lot about challenges. Being unwanted or unwelcome in a place that you're trying to recover or create a new life, maybe, even though you did nothing wrong, even when you're just doing your best to not cause trouble, and even being helpful as you can. The dog part was cute. And it connected me to a moment when a huge dog followed me one day as I was going for a walk. And I was scared because it was a huge black dog. It felt so weird because I'm scared of dogs. And I'm not that fond of dogs. Dogs in this neighborhood must have owners. So I wondered where this dog came from. I felt guilt as I was trying to escape him following me because I'm scared and did not really know what to do with him. He still followed me as I crossed the street, and I remember what happened. And finally, I decided I'll ask the convenience store where I approximately saw him around at first. I can't remember what happened. I just remember crossing the street again and saw that he stopped following. I felt relief with a bit of guilt and hoping he was alright. Back to the show, I felt as I saw the older lady mistreating the dog. I felt bad as I saw the older lady mistreating the dog. When I see this kind of thing, I feel compassion because I also know they have a role to play in each other's life. So the dog and the person to assist and learn something from each other. And I was happy to see that she can do something about it, the main female character, and took her in despite the cost of it. This helped me reflect that it's okay to release the guilt I felt. I did what I thought my best was with whatever, and so I did release the guilt after watching this episode and trust that I know I will do my best with whatever I'm faced with. There is no need to carry guilt that is not mine to carry. That reminds me of the concept that anything heavy is not yours to carry because your own baggage is only filled with light. Then there was this other scene where the male character is also faced with a conflict. It appears that he was either escaping or trying to recover from an unwanted event. It does give me the feeling that he must face his fears. I felt a bit uneasy in general in this episode. It shows that there is some room for improvement in how I see challenges. It is a reminder that I can choose to accept this as part of the experience of life, the contrast, and I can choose how I will experience this contrast, to sync with it or to face it, accept it, let it be, let it float like the clouds, acknowledge its presence, but detachment is key. I call this episode the worthy challenge. Now, episode 4. There is some lightness that got injected in this episode. In fact, it's a complete turnaround. Just when things seem to all go wrong and just about to give up, the light at the end of the tunnel shows up. Suddenly, the beginning of friendship and acceptance unravel. An air of openness, a change of air. The male character starts to do things he wouldn't normally do, I suppose. And support again comes in many ways, in different shapes and forms. I call this episode the drum roll, like an upcoming excitement. And episode 5. This episode is quite of a mixed bag. It goes a little bit deeper on the background of the characters. It showed a bit of history of the male character, how hard it could have been experiencing and going through what he did, and then the bullying at the teenager school life due to her situation. Then there is some lightness with a bit of the romantic hint during the interview with the older lady, and how connected the male and the female characters were during the dinner celebration. The puppy love of the teenagers was also cute. And I'm thinking maybe there's also something between the landlord's son and the librarian. The best part is when the girl librarian thinks she is concerned about her loved ones or friends. The female character gave her a dose of another perspective. I loved it. It reminded me how, although people are just concerned and are thinking of what's for someone's good, they are missing the important, valuable parts of life or living. People can get busy with the demands and requirements of everyday life and the future that they get in a kind of trance. that they get distracted with busy things from what truly matters. It reminds me that some people may get in the trap of surviving and forget to reflect on how are they actually are. How do they feel about themselves? And the golden moments were when she said that she actually broke down living a life of pleasing others. And now it's not that she was trying to recreate a new life or that she is not a good influence because it looks like she is careless without ambition. Instead, she was just allowing herself to have fun and befriend herself. Again, that's the crucial step that I resonated with. People can easily skip this step in order to do things, achieve things. And then the other part, when she said that he was warm hearted and the kids like him because they can feel his kindness. And it's not that they take him for a fool and that he's going to be all right on his own. Wow, this is golden. That's the level of confidence and belief and support I admire and resonate with. I call this episode the mixed bag with gold. Episode 6. In this episode, it reminds me of a quantum jump or leap. You know when something happens that really wakes you up in immediate inspired change or action, where it seems that a long impossible process can suddenly just catapult you in a moment that there's no more thinking. You just know you got to. Both the friend's dad and the male character's decision of uncalled for inspired action is the example. I love the subtle sweetness that is evident in the male and the female's body language, even if they don't say it. It's like they don't know they're doing it, they just do it. It shows the consistency of the kindness of both the male and the female character. They're both inspiring. It helps me see that it's not impossible to be kind and to be truly giving and be in the moment. Because when you face a situation in the moment, you don't have to think too much of the future because something will always come up to aid you anyway. You're always supported. When you give and let go, you allow for more to come. There was also a mystery person who paid for the hospital bill. Looking at their environment, what they have, what they're wearing, reminds me of how having a fulfilled and meaningful life doesn't require fancy stuff or situation, and that amidst events and the non-fancy way of living, these moments of realness, simple fun and happiness is still available no matter where or what's going on in your life. The rooftop scene feels warming. It's something you can't buy. I call this episode Sweet, Priceless, and Quantum Jumps. Episode 7. Alright, we're probably halfway through. Hang on there. Okay, so nothing much stood out for me in this episode, but there are a couple of things that were important. One is that the teenage girl is jealous of the teenage boy because he is rich, while the teenage boy thinks she's richer because she has his brother and grandmother. This is a reminder that sometimes you see the value more of which something you don't have, while you may take for granted what you are already blessed to have. You know how sometimes when you see someone with a straight hair and you have curly hair, you wish you have a straight hair, and vice versa, that kind of thing. And they both have value. It just becomes clear when you see the contrast of not having it. 2, is the part when the girl librarian was implying that the female character is making the male character in a worse condition after he has gone through a lot and was getting by okay until she arrived. This shows me that she's a key instrument in the true healing of the male character. It reminds me that getting by and suppressing is not real healing, but more of a temporary bandage. That's not thriving. It's actually her presence that inspires him to do things he wouldn't normally do or thought of doing. She is aiding and propelling him for him to get out of his own shell and to uncover, bring to light, and eventually release and transmute what was buried before out of fear and unreadiness to handle a situation. She is inspiring courage within him, and she is inspiring in him the energy, the reason to be more brave. Episode 8. It was funny how the female character feels good when she doesn't have to talk much when she's with him, while the male character feels like talking whenever he's with her. It shows that they feel comfortable and enjoy the company of each other. This is the beauty of being relaxed and excited at the same time. It was funny when he wants to do something for her to make her life easier. He was even sizing her feet up with the footprints so he can buy her shoes. Okay, episode 9. The male character gets a new phone and they were both texting happily till the morning. When the female character showed him the sea and the view in his hometown, it helped him decide which kind of life he values more. It reminds me of how we are always presented with multiple opportunities. I don't think anything is wrong. It will just give you a different adventure, whichever path you choose. I admire the male character for knowing what's true to his heart. And episode 10. A lot of changes in this episode. Changes in the hometown initiated by the grandma's death that triggered some cracks in the harmony of the townspeople as the mystery and the twists of things unfold. In Seoul, something is not right. Is going on over there as well. People are leaving and a mystery presents to be investigated. Episode 11. I loved it when the female character trusted her intuition and decided to entertain the uncertain thoughts about what the suspected murderer said that was weighing down on her. She stayed in the town and was met by the male character, who immediately sprinted back to town from Seoul, despite being so focused on solving the mathematical formula. Together, they investigate the mystery, which included him having to face the energy of the traumatic building. This reminds me that when you are ready, you know it's time. He faced fear head on, and again because I feel the fire within him is ignited with her presence. The girl librarian starts opening up and accepting and appreciating what is there for her. This reminds me that also when something generally doesn't require you to give, when it's not requiring a transactional compensation, it becomes more attractive. You become softer. You know how the landlord's son says that, about the unrequited love, that you can tame your wild heart and he can like her, but he doesn't, something to the lines of, in the same lines of, she doesn't have to like him back, and that's okay. Something like that. So at first I was a little annoyed with this friend of the teenage girl that tried to come in between the blossoming puppy love of her and the American boy. In this episode, I came to understand him and the situation, so my feelings softened. I can also somehow feel how the American boy is feeling, being on the back seat even when he's also not in a perfect situation. At the same time, I can also understand why she chose her actions the way she did. A dilemma that all has a point, and I feel some excitement to watch how it will unfold. Episode 12. Yes, we're on the last episode. I actually didn't realize that this was the last episode, but I thought it still ended well. The culprits were found, and a happy town reconnection occurred. Although the teenager's father relapsed back into his bad habits, things still worked out somehow as the female character decided to stay in town, work, and live there. She found a way to live in happiness sufficiently. I like how this reminds me of the simplicity and what happiness means. When something is sufficient, we can remember that this is happiness, nothing fancy required. This means that we can literally be happy pretty much every day, because there's always something sufficient every day. We think we are not happy if we can't achieve something or have that elusive thing. We can forget that all this while, we have the capacity to feel happiness if we allow it to be seen. Obviously, if things are not right or you're not in the right place, you will know this as well. This reminds me to trust yourself, because deep inside you know what's right for you in the moment. The male character also found a way to balance using his gifts while honoring his values. I didn't understand much about him apologizing to his father. Maybe I missed something there because I thought, isn't it was the father who didn't treat him well? The only thing that I can think of to make sense of this is that the male character was so emotional because maybe he wanted to forgive and let go of his resentment with his father and release it and have some sort of closure about the past. I was also happy to see the American boy also came back and trusted his feelings and is decided about his feelings for the teenage girl. So I felt this series was nothing too cutesy, but it leaves a lot to imagine and does imply a relaxed, positive unfolding of all their lives. Nothing hurried, and it gives the impression that everything's going to be fine no matter what. I enjoyed this series. Thank you for watching, and I hope to see you next time. Bye.